Healing from trauma doesn't have to take months or years. I'm going to show you how memories are created so you can understand why trauma is so impactful. And then I'm going to show you how to resolve trauma quickly, because it really, even if you've been doing months or years of therapy and nothing's worked yet. So when we've experienced trauma, we may go to therapy, and I believe in therapy. When anything traumatic happens to me, I go to therapy. It's the first thing I do. A few years ago, I got some lingerie for Christmas from my ex. And I live in Canada, so I didn't want lingerie in the middle of December. I wanted a fluffy, cozy robe and like fluffy bunny slippers. And so I was at his place using logic to find the receipt. And so I looked in all the logical places, like by his, where he charges his phone and on his desk, just to see if I could see the receipt, that maybe he had left it somewhere, but I couldn't find it. And so as I was walking through the hallway, my superconscious says to me, stop right now and look up. And I looked up, and on a very tall shelf outside my conscious awareness, there was a box. And my superconscious said, pull that box down. So I pulled it down, and buried under a few receipts was the receipt for my lingerie. And so my superconscious said, take a picture of it and put it back up into the box. And then I put the box back up on the shelf. And then later I was looking at the receipt, and I noticed that it had the pink frilly thing that he had bought me. But he had also bought the exact same pink frilly thing in a size extra small and in a size large. And so my logical brain said, oh, he probably just had a problem with his cart when he was trying to check out, trying to rationalize it away. But then I knew that he was an online shopper. This wasn't a mistake. And right at that moment, I realized that he was cheating. And all the sketchy things that I had seen him do over the years flashed through my mind like a movie montage. And I knew that he was cheating. And then that night, I'm in distress. Like I totally trusted him. I had committed to him. We had been partners for years. And I went to sleep that night in total distress and anxiety. And I had a dream. And my superconscious in the dream said, why don't you call Victoria's Secret tomorrow? And so I woke up the next day and I called Victoria's Secret and found out there were 2 other receipts, and there were a total of 14 things that he had purchased. I had only got one of those things. There were different sizes, extra small and large. And so knowing that he was cheating, I held my cards close to my chest. And the next time I saw him, I asked him questions about all this lingerie. And he continued to lie. And I said, look, I know there's other women. He continued to lie. At that moment, I actually have to thank him, because he showed me his true self. When someone shows you their true self, you gotta listen. He showed me that he was a liar, that he was more committed to his lying than he was to me. And I got that, yeah, He wasn't ready to let go of that. So I just left the relationship, and it was the easiest decision that I made. But I was left in this trauma of trusting someone that was cheating on me. I went to therapy, and sometimes 3 times a week, because my anxiety was through the roof, and that emotional disturbance was through the roof. Through therapy, I realized that he wasn't cheating on me. He was just a cheater. That's just who he was. In therapy, I realized he had told me about cheating on his wife way back, decades ago. I realized that the shame that I felt wasn't mine. I understood that logically, but that doesn't mean I still had all the anxiety, all the emotional disturbance, and confusion because I trusted him and I loved him, but he wasn't the person that I thought he was. And so it was really confusing for me. And there was like all this emotional stuff and connection with him that was keeping me from moving forward in an authentic relationship. Because I don't know what that was, but that wasn't what I thought it was. So, what happens when we have a traumatic experience is logic goes offline and we're just in our emotions. And that emotion, as it gets put into memory, and that experience gets put into memory, that emotional wrapper, it's wrapped up in all that emotion. What happens when we recall, we unwrap the emotion that surrounds that memory. You probably have experienced this. When you think about that memory, all that emotion comes back and it gets revivified as if you were reliving all of that trauma again. But what happens is, after that, when we try to resolve it, we try to use logic. And so logic works to a certain extent, but it doesn't get us across the, because the wrapper that still exists. That even though we understand it, there's all of that emotional disturbance. Can't fix emotion. You can try to understand it away, you can try to logic it away, but there's still that traumatic experience, that emotional traumatic element that can't be logicked away with understanding. And talk therapy is like trying to understand how to ride a bike. You can talk about it, you can watch videos on YouTube, you can read owner's manuals, but if there's a bike laying there, you don't know how to ride it. You just understand how to ride it, but you couldn't get on that bike and ride it to your destination. This is why you actually need an experience. You need to resolve emotions at the subconscious level because that's where they're stored, right? They go subconscious because your memories aren't always with you. They're there in your subconscious, ready to be recalled. And so you have to resolve them at the subconscious level. What I've noticed about my clients in accelerated hypnotherapy is that we have an experience that neutralizes the former experience of trauma, that neutralizes the traumatic experience, that allows them to ride the bike and get the hell out of there, get to where they need to go. And in hypnosis, they actually learn how to ride the bike. They learn how to get on, balance, pedal, brake, steer, all that good stuff. The next time there's a choice in their life, instead of choosing to revivify the traumatic experience, we resolve that in accelerated hypnotherapy, and they have a choice now to get on that bike and to ride it all the way to their destination, wherever they've chosen for their destination to be, whether that's a healthy relationship, a better job, or just being okay single. And so if you've had trauma and you've been in therapy for months or years, accelerated hypnotherapy can help you resolve that traumatic experience, even if nothing else has worked. And it can do it quickly in just a few hours, because you've probably been trying to resolve your trauma at the conscious level using your logic and understanding. And there are some problems that can be resolved using logic and understanding. Lots and lots of problems. You've done it before. And if you could resolve this problem, this experience with logic and understanding, and you've been working on it for years, you probably would have done it by now if that was the tool that could actually resolve that trauma. But if you still have that emotion, that experience is still wrapped up in all that emotion, you need to try something else. You need to deal with that emotional wrapper that causes you to revivify, to relive that experience, so that you can put that all in the past, so that you can create the future that you desire. Subscribe now and like this video for more content on trauma recovery. Thanks for watching, and let's connect on the next one.